Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Ali here, and in today's video, we're getting personal. I'm gonna be sharing with you one of my biggest, spiciest sexual fantasies. We're gonna be talking about cuckolding. Yep, that's the one where one person gets off watching the other person have sex with someone else. So it's a loaded one. Please be kind in the comments, all right? So in this video, I'm gonna tell you why it turns me on, a wild story about me getting up and about in front of 30 people in Amsterdam talking about it. By the way, that full video is on my Patreon. If you wanna check it out, I will link it below. And I'm gonna share what actual research says about cuckolding, what people report feeling, the risks, and how to try it safely if you decide to do it. All right, before I get into my own story, let's zoom out for a second. Cuckolding is not just a kinky porn category, okay? Researchers are actually starting to study it. Historically, cuckolding meant a man unknowingly married to an unfaithful wife. But today, it means something completely different. It falls under the consensual non-monogamy umbrella, where one partner knows and often encourages the encounters. So it's not cheating, okay? It's all pre-negotiated. And the turn on is often watching, hearing about it, or playing with the power dynamics. Now, that's part of what sets it apart from swinging or open relationships. So one partner usually takes on a more voyeuristic or submissive role, while the other one explores a little bit more. And it's not really some hidden thing anymore. There is a whole subculture around it, and interest is growing very fast. So if this is something that you've been thinking about dabbling in, you definitely want to keep on listening. Now, the biggest factor in whether or not people have positive experiences is the magic C word: confidence. Now, researchers point out that when people are more confident in themselves and secure in their relationships, cuckolding can actually strengthen your intimacy. But if someone is highly anxious or avoidant, it can maybe backfire. So you definitely want to look at your attachment style before you get involved in something like cuckolding. When it comes to the research, there really isn't that much out there. But I did read a really interesting large-scale study through my sex education by Justin Lemiller, David Lay, and Dan Savage from 2017 that looked at the psychology of gay men's cuckolding. So a lot of the literature that they drew upon to come up with their hypotheses were based on heterosexual fantasies of cuckolding. So they surveyed over 580 gay men about their cuckolding fantasies, and this is what they found. So very common. Over a third fantasized about cuckolding daily, and nearly half at least monthly. In terms of core themes that came up, watching your partner was the biggest turn on. Honestly, not surprised with that. That's mine too. And especially watching them in a bottom position performing anal sex. What they found that was different between gay men cuckolding fantasies and straight men cuckolding fantasies was interracial and BDSM, which often show up more in straight men cuckolding fantasies. So in terms of, for example, straight men, there's often this fantasy of their woman being with a bull, the bull meaning the man that is brought in to have sex with the woman. Interracial, so being black and having a very large penis. So there's, a little bit of, seeing her get pleasure from being really filled up, or a little humiliation by her being with someone who is bigger than them. So those things showed up less among gay men. Another finding is that sharing is key. So about 77% shared their fantasies with their partner. And most said that the partner responded positively, just like mine did. Now, when we're talking about reality versus fantasy, nearly half, so 46%, actually acted on it. Of those, 65% said it was much better than expected, and 74% said it actually improved their relationships. Now, I'm just gonna make an assumption here and say that this would also apply to heterosexual couples. And finally, there is definitely a fantasy overlap. So guys that are into cuckolding are also more likely to fantasize about voyeurism, threesomes, orgies, gangbangs, and submission play. So big picture here, all right, cuckolding is not just about jealousy and humiliation. For many, it's about novelty, compersion, joy at your partner's pleasure, and the confidence to be able to let go of control. Now, as I mentioned, there aren't that many studies done on this yet, and there are definitely none about females having cuckolding fantasies like myself. We are often known as cuck queens, and it is a fantasy that I really enjoy. Probably too much. Now, I was recently in Amsterdam on a sex culture education trip with my school, the Sexual Health Alliance, and we did a fantasy workshop where a researcher there shared with us her research on studying what people are into. And at the end, she invited whoever was brave enough to go up in front of everybody and talk about their fantasy. So that's like being really, really, really vulnerable. And even though I share a lot of stuff with you on the internet here, it's like a one-sided conversation. Like right now I'm talking to a camera, but doing it in front of a group of live people, a little different, you know? So I have the full uncut video, raw footage on my Patreon if you want to check that out. I also have a bunch of vlogs from the Amsterdam trip and everything that I learned in Prague as well. So I posted a lot of the sex cultural travel stuff on my Patreon, and also travel non-sex related stuff on there too. So if you want to, you know, motivate me to continue learning and making content for you all, joining my Patreon is a really great way to do that. So I'm very, very, very appreciative. But yes, back to being a cuck queen. I really enjoy watching my partner be with someone else. I like to be a fly on the wall. I want to pretend that I'm not there. I want to like hide behind the mirror, you know, or the door. I want to be able to like hear them in another room. I don't know what it is, friends. I don't know. And according to this research, they say that confident people are better equipped to handle these kinds of things. I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident. I've got some confidence, but I think it also has to do with the strength of your relationship and the communication that you have. So that being said, let's get into how to explore cuckolding safely. Just a few little tips based on my experience. And again, I feel like I'm still a newbie at this. Yeah, if you're curious about exploring. So here's a practical starter checklist. Number 1, talk first, act later. Have multiple conversations when everybody is calm. Negotiate desires, limits, and hard boundaries. Say them out loud. What's allowed? What's not? Safe words. Whether you're present, whether you want to be a fly on the wall, whether you are not in the room at all. Number 2, define the emotional landscape. Name what you are seeking. Is it voyeurism? Is it humiliation? Is it compersion? I can tell you this much, I'm definitely not into the humiliation, all right? I'm definitely more into the voyeurism. Also, what scares you? Loss, betrayal, jealousy. Name them out loud to your partner, because let me tell you, jealousy ain't a fun thing. The last thing that you want to do is be stuck in some kind of cuckolding situation where the person watching becomes jealous AF out of nowhere, and it just becomes like a terrible experience for everyone. Number 3, set rules and logistics. STI testing, mucho importante. Contraception. Who chooses the partners, whether the date info is shared, whether the sex is filmed, whether the partners are vetted. There is a lot of stuff that goes into preparing for an experience like this. But when done right, you can have the best time ever. All right, number 4, start small. I cannot recommend this one enough. Try fantasy-based steps first. So I'm talking about porn, role play, guided imagination before doing any kind of real encounter. Now you can have a lot of fun with this. You can even experience cuckolding without even actually doing it in real life. If your role play game is on point, let me tell you, you can have the dirtiest, the freakiest cuckolding experience without ever actually inviting someone into the bedroom. But again, that takes a lot of openness, vulnerability, and practice to do so. So again, like while you're having sex, one of you can pretend to be somebody else and say things like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna say it from my perspective and what goes on in my head. When I'm pretending to be another girl, sometimes I'll say like, oh, is your girlfriend okay with this? Does she know I'm here? Things like that, you know, that turns me on. I don't know, friends, that's what goes on in my head. All right, finally, the last one is probably the most important step, and that is emotional check-ins and aftercare. So you want to plan an emotional check-in immediately after the experience and for several days after that. Be prepared to stop or pause play if you feel like someone is feeling overwhelmed. And I'm not just talking about the one who's doing the voyeuring here, okay? It could be that the person that is engaging in the sexual activity is also uncomfortable and feeling overwhelmed. Research emphasizes that people who act on fantasies tend to report better outcomes when there's structured communication and care. I'm telling you, it can be an intense experience watching your partner with somebody else or being the person that is with somebody else. And there's like a whole flood of emotions there. And you want to make sure that you are unpacking that in a very safe way, in a very safe place with someone that you trust and that you can be vulnerable with and can provide you with the appropriate aftercare. So perhaps you'll want to do it again. Cuckolding can dredge up some deep stuff, okay? I'm talking about shame, jealousy, feeling devalued. Like, ugh, who wants to feel devalued? No one. Nobody. So you really want to make sure you're aware of the emotional risks, the red flags, and when to stop. I can say, thankfully, that I haven't really felt any of those things because I do it with a partner that I really love, that I really trust. So we got there pretty quickly. And of course, it was my idea and initiated by me, which helps a lot. I wasn't being talked into doing anything in terms of him being with someone else and me watching. But I can say that I probably just can't do this with everybody. If I were to meet another partner, I feel like we would have to do a lot of work together to build up that trust before I would be able to watch him with somebody else. Because when I think about it, I probably would feel devalued and probably a little bit jealous because I do have some jealous tendencies inside of me, you know. But you gotta be careful for those red flags, such as pressure from your partner. Again, I was the one that initiated it. I was not feeling pressured at all. If anything, I pressure him to be with somebody else. So it goes both ways. Another red flag is lack of agreed upon boundaries, or if one person's decisions are being minimized. If someone is constantly minimizing your feelings, stop and reassess. Therapy or a kink-aware counselor can really help. At the end of the day, you really don't want to convince anybody of doing anything, all right? It's all about pre-negotiation and consent. You just want everyone to have a good time, all right? So if you're gonna go down this route, here are a couple of quick questions to ask your partner. What do we each want from this? Are we doing this together or separately? How will we choose partners? What will happen if jealousy comes up? How will we check in emotionally afterwards? All right, friends, that is my candid breakdown of cuckolding in a nutshell. I hope you found this helpful, and remember, fantasies are normal, but real life play needs honesty, boundaries, and care. If you have any questions about cuckolding, if you want to share some PG experiences, remember, keep the comments clean. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. What are your fears? What are your concerns? What excites you about it? And finally, remember that it takes a lot of confidence and care to engage in this type of activity with your partner. And speaking of confidence, a shout out to our sponsor, Anson Belts. Now, when you click on the link in the description below or you scan the QR code on the screen to get a box set, you will get 2 bonus pieces, a buckle and a strap, completely free. So make sure you check that out today. And for anything related to behind the scenes content and my full Fantasy Amsterdam talk, you can check out the Patreon links below and other ways how to get in touch with me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Je vous aime. Bye.